Hey, what's going on? What's going on? Peace, 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 and power and elevation be to all you beautiful people out there. This your girl Tiffany coming through here live in effect. And peace to brother Chauncey. Thank you for coming through. So today's topic, we're gonna continue on with Atlanta history. So yesterday I did the topic about Summer Hill riots, right? That took place on September 6th of 1966. So we're just gonna continue on talking about John Wesley Dobbs, all right? John Wesley Dobbs, an unsung hero or the unsung history of Atlanta. That's why I like to call it the unsung Black history of Atlanta. Because a lot of time when people hear about Black history of Atlanta, first thing that comes to mind is Coretta Scott King and Dr. Martin Luther King. And they have done magnificent things for the city. Or you might hear about Keisha Lance Bottom and Maynard Jackson. What's his name? Andrew Young. You may hear about those people. You may hear about those people. But it's a lot more to the A than what people are being exposed to. It's a lot more. When I say it's a lot more to the A, it's a lot more to the A. And I have covered some of the information about Alonzo Hurden, who was the founder of the Atlanta Life Insurance Company, which was downtown. It's so many lists of them. As a matter of fact, so today I'm going to deal with John Wesley Dobbs. So John Wesley Dobbs played a significant role in Auburn Avenue. So let's get into a little history about Auburn Avenue. Auburn Avenue was like the Black Wall Street of Atlanta. Okay. So Auburn Avenue, the community itself, okay, was where a lot of Black owned businesses were at. And one of them, like I said, life insurance, like the Atlanta Life Insurance Company was down there. And then there's also a bank called the Atlanta Citizen Bank. So the Atlanta Citizen Bank started down there too, and it's also Black owned. All right. So, and also that's where you got the African American Research Library at Auburn Avenue. Then you have the Apex Museum, which is down there as well. And then we have so many like restaurants, barbershops, all of that stuff. But you ever wonder, well, why don't nobody really talk much about John Wesley Dobbs? I mean, he played a role in the Black community in Auburn area. Now, I came up with the information as much as I possibly could about him. And I found a book that's relating to the topic. Now, let me give you a little background about how downtown was. It was segregated. Peachtree, right, was the all-white community where white folks mainly did their own thing. And Auburn was pretty much the Black community. So just like anywhere else in the South, there was segregation in Georgia, in Atlanta. Okay. There was racism in Atlanta. All right. There was a lot of that. There was a lot of separation going on. And there were riots taking place. But you just don't hear about it as much. All right. But like I said, there's so many African American history that go unnoticed when it comes to Atlanta. By Atlanta being considered as the Black Mecca, I mean, to me, it's ridiculous. It's sad because we talking about when Booker T. Washington came down here. We talking about Marcus Garvey. He was locked up in the Atlanta Federal Prison, which was not too far from where I grew up at, but he was locked up there. W.E.B. Du Bois was a professor at Clark College. And I mean, the list goes on and on and on. But anyways, thanks for doing this, Bill. I learned about John Wesley Dobbs when I was in Atlanta this past weekend. Oh, yeah. Yeah. As a matter of fact, his monument is down there at Auburn Avenue. So if you ever come to Atlanta and you ever visit and you just go down Auburn Avenue, you're going to see this statue of a man, his head, right there in the center in the grass. That's John Wesley Dobbs. All right. So let's look up who was John Wesley Dobbs and what did he do? What was his contribution? So I'm going to go to the Wikipedia source first. Okay. and see what we can find. Then I'm going to go to Georgia Encyclopedia. So you can look up on Georgia Encyclopedia if you want to learn more about the history of Georgia and Atlanta, Savannah, and all of that. Okay. So right here, gotta put my glasses on. John Wesley Dobbs was born on March the 26th, 1882. Okay. And he died on August 30th, 1961. He was an African American civic and political leader in Atlanta, Georgia. He was often referred to as the unofficial mayor of Auburn Avenue, the spine of Black community in the city. Check this out. Dobbs co-founded the Atlanta Negro Voters League with civil rights attorney A.T. Walden, leading voter registration efforts that registered 20,000 African Americans in Atlanta from 1936 to 1946. This new political power helped gain the hiring in 1948 of the first 8 African American police officers in Atlanta. The same year that the federal government the federal government began to integrate the armed services. In 1949, the city finally installed lighting along Auburn Avenue, the main retail street of the African American community. All right. So, his early life. Dobbs was born and grew up in Atlanta, where he attended segregated public school and African American. He also had European ancestry, as his maternal grandfather was a white slave owner who owned his maternal grandmother, and his paternal great grandfather was a white slave owner who owned his paternal great grandmother. He was a voracious reader and studied at Morehouse College. He attended for 2 years but never graduated because he had family obligations to care for his mother. He passed a civil service exam and became a railway mail clerk for the post office in 1903, a position he held for 32 years. And as you can see, this is a picture of him right here. That's him. Okay. And it says his family. So Dobbs married Irene Ophelia Thompson in 1906. They had 6 daughters together, all of whom graduated from Spelman College. One daughter, Matawala Dobbs, became a notable opera singer based in Europe, while daughter Josephine Ophelia Dobbs Clement was later elected to the City Board of Education in Durham, North Carolina. She led integration and discussion about race. And Irene Dobbs Jackson was a professor of French at Spelman and integrated Atlanta's public libraries. And check this out. Go down, it says his career. He became a member of the Prince Hall Masons in 1911. In 1932, he was elected Grand Master of the Prince Hall Masons, a post he held for the rest of his life. Believing that enfranchisement was the key to overcoming segregation, Dobbs started a voter registration drive in 1936 with a goal of registering 10,000 Black voters in Georgia. That year, Dobbs founded the Atlanta Civic and Political League. And in 1946, along with A.T. Walden, he co-founded the Atlanta Negro Voters League. So, and during the 1930s and 1940s, laws keep Blacks from voting by raising barriers to voter registration or voting in primaries were found by the U.S. Supreme Court to be unconstitutional. Between 1936 and 1946, as it mentioned before, 20,000 African American voters were registered to vote in Atlanta for the first time. And with the power of the Black vote behind him, Dobbs convinced Atlanta Mayor William B. Hartsfield to integrate Atlanta's police force in 1948. All right. So I know it's kind of redundant, but I think that's very important. It says the first 8 Black officers were hired, of course, and then in 1948, the mayor ordered installation of gas lights along Auburn Avenue, the spine of the Black retail district, because for a long time, they did not have any lights over there in Auburn Avenue. And check this out. In 1948, when Dobbs was 66, he accompanied Ray Sprague, a Pulitzer Prize winning reporter for the Pittsburgh Post Gazette when the reporter disguised himself as a light-skinned black man and traveled for 30 days in the Deep South. They had coordinated the trip with the NAACP and kept Dobbs' role secret as it was dangerous to challenge the Jim Crow customs and color line. Dobbs, who passed the 61-year-old newspaperman off as a cousin from Pittsburgh doing field work for the NAACP, was Springle's guide, host, and mentor. Springle's 21-part syndicated newspaper series entitled I Was a Negro in the South for 30 Days shocked the white North and started the first debate in the national media, print, and radio about the future of legalized segregation. The series was turned into a 1949 book, In the Land of Jim Crow. Dobbs' role was not revealed to the general public until 1998 by Pittsburgh Post Gazette staff writer Bill Strawall. The story of Dobbs' collaboration with Springle is told in details in Strawall's 2017 history book, 30 Days, a Black Man. John Wesley Dobbs died on August 30th, 1961, age 79, the same week that the Atlanta city schools were desegregated. All right, so this is his legacy and honor. His family home still stand at 540 John Wesley Dobbs Avenue, formerly Houston Street. Houston Street was renamed in Dobbs' honor by Maynard Jackson in 1994. Jackson was the first African American mayor of Atlanta, was Dobbs' grandson. So Maynard Jackson was the grandson of John Wesley Dobbs. A lot of people don't know that either. Yeah, Maynard Jackson was akin to him. And it says, a 7-foot-high face mask of Dobbs entitled Through His Eyes by a sculptor, Ralph Hibmick, was erected in 1996 along Auburn Avenue. And it says, Dobbs Elementary School in Atlanta Public School is named for him. All right. So let's see what other information we can find. As a matter of fact, let me look up that book. Let me look up the book called 30 Days, a Black Man. I want to find that book, 30 Days, a Black Man. All right, I'm going to show it to you guys in a minute. All right, so I got that for you guys. Sorry about that. So I finally got the information. Okay. So let's go to the Georgia Encyclopedia website. And let's see what other information that we can find. Okay, so this is the Georgia Encyclopedia website. Okay, so let's see what details can it go into. So right here, it says that he was born in Marietta. All right, and it says that he grew up in poverty on a farm near Kennesaw. And it says 2 years after his birth, his mother and father separated. His mother moved to Savannah to work in the home of a white family, leaving Dobbs and his sister in the care of his grandparents and various other relatives. Many saw her children regularly, though in 1891, they moved to Savannah to live with her. Okay. So in Savannah, Dobbs attended school full-time for the first time. His formal education nearly ended after 5th grade because of his family financial difficulty. But a white woman intervened and offered Dobbs a job that would not interfere with his school attendance. While still in grammar school, Dobbs also shined shoes and delivered newspaper to supplement the family income. All right. So this is the Dobbs family right here. And the Spelman graduates. Okay. All right, so if y'all don't know that Morehouse used to be called Atlanta Baptist College. It used to be called Atlanta Baptist College. All right, so let's see what other information we can find. So about the Prince Hall's Mason, Dodd was elected Grand Master of the Prince Hall Masons of Georgia in 1932, thereby earning the nickname the Grand. Through his leadership position with the Mason, he tried to instill Atlanta's African American community those same values he worked to pass on to his children. And he vehemently believed that African American suffrage was the key to racial advancement. Okay. So let's look at the Atlanta Negro Voters League real fast. All right. So the Atlanta Negro Voters League was a bipartisan, which means that it ain't just based on one set of political parties, based on both political parties, both Republican and Democratic. It was a bipartisan political organization started by Black leaders in 1949 to form a united front to maximize the strength of Black vote. And such an organization was needed because of the surge in Black voters registration after 1946. Federal court ruling invalidated Georgia's all-white primary. And by 1949, African American represented at least 25% of Atlanta's registered voters. And it was founded on July the 7th, 1949, at the Butler Street YMCA. The league served as a clearinghouse for Black problems and as broker for African American vote until the early 1960s. All right. All right, so it says the ANVL was set up on a nonpartisan basis to make sure that Black Republicans and Democrats work together in selecting desirable candidates for city and county election. Although Blacks did not constitute a large enough part of the population to elect African Americans to office, they could and did join forces with moderate whites to keep racist whites out of City Hall. The league made no endorsement in state and national election. All right. So then let's go further down. All right. So organizing a spirit of bipartisanship, the ANVL created dual chairs to ensure equality between two political parties. And of course, it got John Wesley Dobbs' name, a retired postal employee and leader of the Prince Hall Masons of Georgia and the Fulton County Republican Club. Okay, so obviously he was a Republican. A.T. Walden, the president of the Atlanta branch of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People and leader of the Fulton County Citizen Democratic Club. So attorney A.T. Walden was a Democrat, and while John Wesley Dobbs was a Republican. Okay. And let's see, it says the chairs appointed all committees as well as 25 members of the executive committee, which served as the policy-making board of the organization. The general committee was composed of prominent Black civic, religious, and business leaders. Now, let's skip down here. Now, here's the flyer. If you can't see the flyer is where they was passing out to get people to be qualified to vote, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All right. Now, see, that's the membership board right there. The Atlanta Negro Voters League. That's the membership board right there on Butler Street. Okay. All right, so this is the instruction of how to go about voting. All right, so I think that's A.T. Walden and John Wesley Dobbs. Okay. All right. So, anyways, go further down. It says, before each election, the ANVL mailed postcard to all cities' Black registered voters to inform them about the program and their respective ward leaders. 2 nights before the election day, the ANVL released a ticket with its slate of candidates and instruction on how to operate a mechanical voting machine. The ticket was also published in Atlanta Daily World, a Black newspaper, and announced over where WERD, the city's first Black radio station, which I'm gonna go into that some other time. Black ministers assisted in the effort using their pulpits to rally African Americans to support candidates endorsed by the league. To make sure that Black participated in the electoral process, carpools were organized and taxis provided to carry voters to the polls. And see, now, all of this took place before the voting rights even happened. Now, all of this was happening. This was in the 40s, by the way. This was in the 40s. This was before the voters' rights of 1965. So this man have done the work by organizing a committee to get more Black people to vote in the city of Atlanta, and he was able to do so in a successful way, 20,000. So now they didn't focus on the concept of Democrat or just Republican. It was bipartisan. He was able to work with a Democrat that was an attorney named A.T. Walden, and by him being a Republican. So he was able to say, you know what? It don't matter what political party they choose. It's all about getting the votes out there. That's all that matters to them. That's all that mattered to him. He was like, main concern is getting the votes, getting Black people out there to vote, so that way the issues can be taken care of in the community. Now, that's a lot of work. And I mean, again, I'm surprised nobody knows enough about this man, because he has really put in so much work for the Black community in Auburn Avenue and also for the city of Atlanta in general. Let's continue. Now, let's see what else we can find. All right, so got the Biracial Coalition. taking place. Okay. All right. So let's see what in 1949 primary marked the emergence of a biracial coalition of African American and moderate whites that successfully supported progressive mayoral candidates throughout 2 decades. That ANVL endorsed William B. Hartsfield in his re-election bid for mayor. The black vote provided the margin of victory for Hartsfield in 1949, 1953, and 1957. In 1961, blacks also helped Ivan Allen Jr. win his first contest for mayor. Okay. All right. So again, by them being very active and participating, it helped Black people to understand the importance of being a part of the political process. All right. It says, although Walden worked to develop a Black united voting bloc, his efforts suffered a severe blow in the 1953 mayoral primary. Dobbs, upset that no Black firemen had been hired, split with the ANVL and withdrew his Republican supporters from the league. The following year, he was replaced by Reverend William Jackson of Bethlehem Baptist Church. Jackson remained co-chair until 1961, when he was succeeded by Q.V. Williamson. The activity of the civil rights movement in Atlanta in the early 1960s caused a disruption in the Black leadership and the emergence of a new group of leaders who had no allegiance to the ANVL. Weakened by lack of leadership and by Walden's death in 1965, the League ceased to be a significant political force in Atlanta. Wow. So the information has now been upheld. Two of the prominent founders, both Dobbs and Walden, they both passed away. So the foundation of the Atlanta Negro Voters League declined because nobody was able to keep it going. But it's a good thing we still found out information. We still can be able to come across it and whatnot. But check this out. Let's see what else we can. Here it is. Look, due largely to Dobbs' effort, African American achieved two significant political victories in the late 1940s. And check this out. The following year, Hartsfield fulfilled another campaign promise by installing street lamps on Auburn Avenue, the center of Atlanta's Black community. Both of these achievements served to solidify Dobbs' position as leader. Dobbs himself coined the term "Sweet Auburn," an expression of areas thriving businesses and active social and civic life. So he the one came up with the term called Sweet Auburn. So if you ever hear the term Sweet Auburn Avenue, that's where it came from. All right. And so then goes on to say Dobbs' influence began to wane, though, as the decade ended and a younger generation of African American leaders emerged at the forefront of civil rights struggle. By this time, he was suffering from arthritis, often unable to get out of the bed. Dobbs held the decline, and on August 21st, 1961, he suffered a stroke. He died 9 days later on August 30th, 1961, the same day the Atlanta City schools were desegregated, right? And it said that Martin Luther King Jr. was one of the speakers at Dobbs' funeral, and Thurgood Marshall, head of the NAACP and future Supreme Court Justice, served as a pallbearer. Dobbs received a last tribute on January the 10th of 1994 when his grandson, Atlanta Mayor Maynard Jackson, changed the name of Houston Street to John Wesley Dobbs Avenue. All right. So, and today, the airport, which is called Hartsfield Jackson Airport, is named after the mayor William Hartsfield, and was named also after Maynard Jackson. So those two mayors, their last name combined together to make Hartsfield Jackson Airport. All right. Yeah, because also Maynard Jackson had passed away too. He passed away around 2003. Yep. So he was the first African American to become mayor of Atlanta. He was. And then many others came along. So, but prior to Maynard Jackson, it was the whites. It was Ivan Allen Jr. And before Ivan Allen Jr., it was William Hartsfield. And then others that came before them. So, all right, but that's the encyclopedia, the Georgia Encyclopedia. So you guys can find out more information. Just go on the GeorgiaEncyclopedia.org if you want to learn more about Atlanta, if you want to learn more about other cities like Savannah, Augusta, and all of that, or if you want to learn about Georgia in general, just go on that website. All right. That's a good website, is a good source. And also, if you ever come to the airport, if you notice, like if you ever, I don't know how many people ever visit Atlanta or ever been to the airport, but if you go there, you'll see that there's like a museum inside the airport. So when you go through those little electronical slides, but I don't know what they call them, but they're like they are electronic slides. But if you go through those little slides and go through the concourse or whatnot, you're gonna see like the little monuments and the little history behind Atlanta, and from the very beginning and all the way up to the present day as you go through each concourses. And when you go to like the international concourse, you're gonna see like they have like this wall where they have pictures of Dr. King and his house and where he grew up at. And then they also have another area where they talk about the Haitian people and things of that nature. So I don't know if it's still there, but yeah, as far as the international concourse is concerned, but I do know that they still have the little monument. It's like a little mini museum. So when you go there, you're like, wow, they have a lot of information here, a lot of historical facts. So you just, anytime you come through Atlanta, just take the time out and just look at the walls and look at the pictures and just look at the history. So it's more detailed, more explained. So yeah, it goes from the very beginning, from the Native Americans, the Cherokee Indians, and all the different Native American tribes, all the way up to the current day. Pretty cool, isn't it? Pretty cool. All right. I guess you could say Atlanta is considered as the friendly city of the South. Like it's very friendly in the South, in a sense. I mean, there is friendly elements to the South out here. Atlanta gives more opportunity to a lot of African Americans, especially those that's coming from the northern part and those who come from the West Coast. It gives opportunity for them to come out here and start their own businesses, create their own platforms, do a lot of things. So it's like the safe haven, like the Black Hollywood. I mean, ever since Tyler Perry done bought up the Lakewood, Fort McPherson area, which is over 330 acres of land, he bought that whole area. Right, he expanded his studio out there. A lot of people been coming through because he do a lot of shows. I mean, he even got deals with BET Plus. And then there's a house on Avon Avenue. He owns that house. So y'all might have seen that house on the movies that he did, all the Medea's movies. He owns the house. So a lot of Black people come out here because they want to get into the real estate business. The real estate business is booming. The music industry is booming. Movie industry is on deck. So Atlanta is drawing a lot of attention, not just nationally, but also internationally. So Atlanta has drawn a lot of attention to a lot of people, especially Black people throughout the United States. So a lot of Black folks want to come out here, and it gets to the point where the city has become very overcrowded. But a lot of folks come out here because they see there's a lot more opportunity available. So you see a lot of reality shows coming up out here, like the Real Housewives and Love and Hip Hop Atlanta, and And so many other reality shows. I don't really keep up with them. Basketball Wives, all that. Yep. So, but again, I'll make sure I go into history, more details about it when I gather up more information, because it's a lot. It's a lot of stuff that a lot of people don't know when it comes to the city of Atlanta. It's a lot. And I can only tell you from my own experience growing up down here. You know what I'm saying? I can tell you from my own experience. But there's other things that I'm not aware of that I didn't even know. So, but let me give you guys some books to check out. Oh yeah, let me show y'all some pictures real fast. All right, so as you can see, this is the statue of John Wesley Dobbs. Okay, that's the statue of him. So when you go down to Auburn Avenue, you're going to see that statue right there. It says, get the vote and the dollar and you'll walk in Jerusalem just like John. Buck ballots, books are the key to African American freedom. John Wesley Dobbs. That's a picture of him again. That's the building. Okay. And it was on Butler Street, YMCA. All right, the street lights to Auburn Avenue, because again, they didn't have no street lights at first. All right. It says Cornerstone with Reverend Emery. And that's his 6 daughters. And that's the family home right here. In 2002. So it's still there. So that's the sculpture. That's a sculpture. All right. So here's all the pictures. So you're going to see all this if you ever come and visit Atlanta, this is where you're going to see right here. All these pictures. All right. So that's that. And here's the book that I recommend you guys look into. Right here. I hope you guys can see that screen. It's called Where Peachtree Meets Sweet Auburn Avenue, The Saga of Two Families and the Making of Atlanta by Gary M. Pomerantes. Okay. All right, so this book goes further into details about how Peachtree Avenue, and at one time, like I said, Peachtree Avenue was more so of a white community, and Sweet Auburn Avenue was the black community. Okay. Okay, so you guys can check this out. It's called Peachtree, Where Peachtree Meets Sweet Auburn Avenue. All right. Then this book here is what I was talking about when I was reading the article. It's called 30 Days of Black Man. 30 Days of Black Man by Bill Stragglewald. Stragglewald. The Forgotten Story That Exposed Jim Crow South. And this book was written in 2017. Okay, it was written in 2017. So you guys make sure y'all check that book out as well. Get that book in your archive. All right. And also, once again, I have some personal books here. I showed them yesterday, but I'll show them again for those of you who may not been watching. So this book is called Black Mecca, The Legend of Black Mecca, Politics and Class in the Making of Modern Atlanta, Maurice J. Hobson. So again, make sure you guys check this book out. All right. I'm going to hold it up for y'all. Aim it a little closer. Okay. And that's Maynard Jackson. And then on the other side, those women that stand there with the balloons and stuff, they was protesting for all the children that got killed out here, out in Atlanta. All right. That's that book. Then we got this book called The Way It Was in the South, The Black Experience in Georgia. Donald L. Grant. Post that book up for you. So you guys can check this book out. Okay. All right, so that's all I have for today. All right. So I just want to tell y'all thank you so much for watching and tuning in and listening to the channel and whatnot. So I hope you guys enjoyed the information that I have presented. So there's more to come. So later on, hopefully later on tonight, I'm going to be doing a topic about J.W. Barnes. J.W. Barnes was a very prominent person here in Atlanta. As a matter of fact, the projects that was on the west side of Atlanta over in Bankhead area was called Barnes Homes. It was named after him. So Barnes Homes was named after him. So, but it's no longer there because when they went through the demolition process, they pretty much tore down every project in Atlanta. So there ain't no projects left. But Barnes Homes was named after J.W. Barnes. So I'm going to do a video about him later on. And I was supposed to be doing a video. I was going to do another video today. But instead, I postponed that for Thursday. So for next Thursday coming up around 11 p.m. or 11:45 p.m. Eastern time, I am going to be doing a video about Black Marxism and Black communism, pretty much of how communism have influenced African American, why African American gravitate towards those ideologies. So I have a brother that's going to be on here with me. So hopefully he's one of my guests. So hopefully that's going to turn out to be pretty good. It's going to be pretty late. So for those of you who may not be able to watch it, I understand. But for those of you that are going to watch it, thank you for coming through, showing support and whatnot. So yeah, so next Thursday, well, not next Thursday, it's this Thursday. I'm sorry, it's this Thursday, September the 9th, 11:45 Eastern time. All right. So that's why I'm going to be starting around that time period. And we're going to be discussing about Black Marxism, communism, and all of that stuff. So I have some information on that. But later on, I am going to be coming back doing a video about J.W. Barnes. So be on the lookout for that. All right. Yeah, this book is pretty thick. It's a very thick book. It's a lot of information in this book. That goes to show you there's a lot of historical facts in this book right here. But anyways, with that being said, you guys, thank you guys for tuning in, watching. For those of you that are watching, thank you for supporting the channel. So make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell. Make sure y'all share the channel and all that great stuff. Until then, y'all take it easy. This your girl Tiffany. I'm logging off. May peace and power, elevation be to all of you. And deuces. All right. I'll see y'all later.